Aloha. Good evening. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona with Spiritual Image Productions on Facebook Live and YouTube. Establishing and maintaining right relationships through human values. Aloha and welcome to tonight's monthly, weekly, daily, yearly, I don't know, something update. And Happy New Year to all of you youth that especially to those that haven't been wished Happy New Year yet, but that's besides the point. So anyhow, there's been a lot of stuff happening. In fact, I want to, let me see if I can do this with one hand. Apparently there's going to be a lining up of some planets. I believe that's what I was told. There's going to be some on Friday, I believe the 10th. There's going to be some I want to say, I don't know why I can't reach the words, but anyhow, there's going to be an eclipse, I believe. That's what I think I heard them say somewhere down the road. So anyhow, I'm not sure all the ramifications of all that, but what I am sure of, and I haven't got it all put together yet, is Friday's also going to be a full moon, and so we're going to be doing a full moon meditation on Friday. Eclipse here. Yeah, I believe it's going to be a lunar eclipse. That's what it is. I'm checking it right now just to make sure I got all my information correctly. Yeah, it's going to be the full moon on January 10th, 2020 at 20 degrees Cancer is a lunar eclipse. The focus of the lunar eclipse, January 2020, astrology is communication because of Sun conjunct Mercury, but it is cold, ruthless, and oppressive because the authoritarian dictatorial influence of Saturn and Pluto, which is very befitting, especially after what President Donald Trump did recently, and we are going to talk about that with the assassination, the murder, the taking out of General Qassem Soleimani. So anyhow, and we are going to talk about that. But right now, I want to talk about Tinslee Lewis. For those of you that are ascended citizens, and if you don't know what an ascended citizen is, go to my website, spiritualimageproductions.com. spiritualimageproductions.com. Right in the middle, there's a link. There's some stuff. There's some basically it's the intention of people that are coming together with the intention of being in right, healthy relationship with each other and with yourself. So there's different practices you can do, different guidelines that you can follow, which are all on my website, spiritualimageproductions.com, and it's really that simple. So just the commitment or the intention to follow those guidelines and those practices and be in right, healthy relationship with all that's within, round, through and throughout you, right? So it's like that. But anyhow, Tinslee Lewis is a little baby girl. I believe the last video that I did, I talked about her being in Fort Worth, Texas. I think at Cook Children's Hospital or Cook Hospital. I think it's at Cook Children's Hospital. But anyhow, she's been on intensive care, I believe intensive care, or she's been on machines since she was born, and I don't know that she's ever going to be off those machines from what these doctors are saying. And at first, I thought, well, this hospital wants to murder this kid, but then later on, I learned that she has a whole lot of stuff going on with her. She has like at least 3 major conditions that are affecting her, and let me see if I can find this, but that are really, really causing her a lot of pain. And just like anything else with anyone else, when people, especially with old people, but and you don't really, well, I don't know how much you see it with young people, with babies and newborns and kids, but with her, here, let me see if I can do this. There we go. Maybe that'll work. But anyhow, I wanna look. She has I believe some congenital conditions or some serious conditions that are really affecting her, and last month there was a judge that ruled that the hospital couldn't take her off of life support, and then about 2 days ago, or actually a few days ago, on the 2nd of this month, another judge ruled that they could take her off of life support. So what's happening? Let me see if I can. She's at Cook Children's Medical Center in Fort Worth, and let me see if I can tell you. I guess I should have left it up, but Judge Sandy Brian Marion, the Chief Justice of Texas Fourth Court of Appeals, issued an injunction to, I believe, to keep her alive, to sustain the treatment, to sustain the life support. And the problem is that this little girl is, let me see if I can find it. There's like 3 different major issues that she's that are going on with her, and she's from what these doctors and these people are saying, she's in a lot of pain, and it's really making it hard for her to function. She has a rare heart defect and suffers from chronic lung disease and severe chronic high blood pressure. She hasn't come off a ventilator since going into respiratory arrest in early July last year, and requires full respiratory and cardiac support, deep sedation, and to be medically paralyzed. The hospital said doctors believe she's suffering. So it's undetermined how much suffering this little girl is going through. But if it was an old person, especially if it was an old person going through this kind of tragedy, I don't know if you want if tragedy is the correct word, but this situation, they probably would assist that person, if this was an old person going through this kind of thing, with suicide. They would put him on suicide assist or something like that, and in that person's pain. And so if these doctors are correct, this medical staff are correct, and as she's going through that much pain, well, maybe it's better that the little girl moves on. But she's here, and she's even at that age, at 9 months old, she's still teaching people something, right? So it's amazing that she's going through all this. And so anyhow, on January 2nd, I believe the Texas judge ruled that the hospital can take her off of life support. And now she's being given they're being given 10 days, I believe, to file an appeal. And if that appeal goes through, then she'll still be maintained on that life support, is my guess. But if not, then they'll probably remove her from from life support, and that will take place, if I'm correct, on the 12th of this month, which will be on Sunday. So again, there's going to be a full moon on Friday, and I'm going to be doing, excuse me, a full moon meditation Friday night from 7 to 9 p.m. This Friday, and then next Friday, the following Friday, and I still have to put together all the information for that, but I'm going to be doing a psychic, the Golden Age prediction show. I've done it every year for, I think, 4 or 5 years in a row, and so, and I don't know if I'm going to bring other people on with me or not, but right now I'm just focusing on just getting past today, tonight, whatever, right? So it's like that. So anyhow, next week I'll be doing the Golden Age prediction show, and then this Friday will be the full moon, and then also there's going to be a lunar eclipse this Friday as well. So there's a lot happening, a lot processing through, and so I believe that it's going to be just really busy. So anyhow, now I want to throw a short aside to y'all. I ordered a computer through a company called QVC. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but I've had at least one other friend that has had problems with those people. And if you ever find anything or decide you want to do some kind of transaction or deal through QVC, I would highly recommend that you don't. These people are shysters, man. They literally illegally charge my account for $140. I was very clear and very specific with them. I said you're only allowed to charge me for, because I was going to put it on a payment plan, and they literally charged me for that plus an extra $140. It was out of this world that why they would even do that. I don't know, but these guys, I've never dealt with a company that's been as unprofessional as these people. I highly recommend that if you run across these people and you even think you want to go ahead and purchase something through them, these guys, oh my God, they run you through the mill. Their parent company, one of their parent companies is Curate a Retail Group out of Pennsylvania, and actually, because of it was amazing that these guys were charging me for a warranty on a computer that I never got. So it was beyond me that they were even doing that. Liberty Mutual or Liberty Media is the parent company for both of these for both TVC and Curate Retail Company, with Michael A. George being president and chief executive officer of Curate Retail Inc. And these guys are like millionaires, and it's beyond me why they would take to such drastic actions as these people have been doing. Gregory B. Maffei is the president and chief executive officer of Liberty Media, and so with Dr. John C. Malone being chairman of the board of Liberty Media. So I don't know what's the deal with this company, but there's some really screwed up energies behind this company, and I don't know what their problem is, but it seems like they're in the right direction, but there's some really bizarre off the wall energies behind these companies. So if I was you, I would run the other way and don't even think about purchasing anything through these companies or investing. They even have an investing program. I wouldn't. If you want to invest in these companies, go for it. But you are forewarned if that's the case. So anyhow, I don't want to go off in that tangent anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead and move on. Major General Qassem Soleimani out of Iran. This is a really, really fine, thin line to follow with what President Trump did in assassinating this guy, killing this guy. If it is correct that this guy was a tyrant, he was. If it is correct that he was probably one, if not the worst, terrorist on this planet, then it's like the David and Goliath story. It's like in the Quran, a service. There's a service, literally a service, that in actually being a warrior, right? So being in the military, that's a service. A lot of people don't like to do it. A lot of people don't do it. A lot of people can't do it. But it is a service. Just like being a businessman, being the Pope is a service. Being a senator, a congressperson, those are all services. And even though people may not like the warrior, the service of the warrior, it is a service. And I can't say, sometimes it's like you take action and answer questions later. So it's like that type of thing. I can't say that it was necessarily the best plan of action for President Trump to take, but it was a plan of action, and he did take this person out. And I know Iran's been causing problems for a lot of people, and he's right. Trump is right. President Trump is right. If this guy is going to continue to cause problems, and he's either killed or been the stepping stone for a lot of people to be murdered already, then maybe that was his sentence, and maybe that's what needed to happen. It's hard to say, but a lot of these other people are right too in that what's going to be the repercussions of this, and there will be karma. Of course, there's going to be karma. Maybe the karma's already been paid because this guy has already killed so many people. I don't know. There's so many questions around all this, and the answers are not clear and cut. They're not set in stone, and so it would be a good idea for President Trump to establish some kind of plan of action. And Iran, I believe it's already established that they've already been retaliating in Africa and I don't know where else. Now, I'm going to give you a hint, President Trump. If these guys decide to retaliate again or more, I would really, really take measures to put into place safeguards in New York. That's my suggestion. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm understanding. So, and maybe I'm wrong, but if I'm wrong, I would rather be wrong than if I'm right and something takes place in New York. So I would definitely take some, especially in most places, I would definitely put security measures there as well, but specifically New York. And I don't know how accurate this information is, but it's a suggestion. Okay, I'm putting it out there. You can do whatever you want with this information. It's up to you, but But regardless, I would definitely be taking some, and I believe that's already happening to some extent. I don't know what extent, but definitely safeguards need to be put into place to protect the United States. And I don't know. The only way that this could be truly solved is if you take out Iran completely, the whole country. Then there's no residue, and then the problem is solved. But is that ethical? You and I know it's not. So the other thing that I would recommend is that you bring in some mediators from Iran and from the United States, at least two from each country, and see if you can't mediate some kind of resolve with Iran in relationship to the United States. And I believe you can make some headway with that. I don't know that you'll be able to 100% solve or bring on the table resolutions that will work, but I think it will solve a majority of the problems that are taking place right now. So again, it's just a suggestion. You do whatever you think you need to do, of course, but again, you are going to want to be professional. You're going to want to listen. And I already talked about this. Yeah, your listening skills are going to have to really be upgraded, updated. And one of the best ways to do that is with paraphrasing, repeating to people what they just said, so that way it lets you and them, that person, those people, know that you're hearing them, not just listening to them. And again, you really need to hear people, not just listen to them. Very simple. That's what a true leader, a true professional leader, will do as a diplomat. It will be very diplomatic and work with listening skills that will help you out leaps and bounds. I don't know how else to put it. Leaps and bounds. So anyhow, I'm not saying that it was a bad decision to take this person out. I'm not saying it was the best decision to take this person out. You did what you did, and and maybe that was the best plan of action, not only for the United States but even for him, because the karma that's he's going to be facing, he still needs to face his karma. He still will be facing his karma for killing all those people. I assure you 100%. It ain't over yet, right? So even in this next lifetime, he's going to have to deal with that karma. And he might be in complete pain, complete misery for that. It's undetermined. It's not for me to decide. Of course, the universe will figure it out. It's probably already figured it out, but that's besides the point. So anyhow, it is what it is. So time to move on, but don't be stupid. Don't be foolish. If you haven't already got a plan of action up and going, I would be working on that like yesterday. So a lot of people, a lot of leaders, they take action and then answer questions later. A lot of times that's the best plan of action. A lot of times, making preparations and planning stuff is a whole lot better than just acting from the hip. So it is what it is, and now it's time to move on. So anyhow, Australian wildfires. There's a lot of animals that have been killed. If you find a place where you can give some donations to help these people out, if you're a firefighter, and I don't know President Trump, but if you, I would recommend sending some of our firefighters over there and helping these people out. I don't know what the cost would be, but I'm telling you, these people are going through a lot. There's a lot of really amazing animals that are being murdered or killed or are dying from all this. So I would definitely consider that. Like yesterday, you should have already been on that if you haven't already started to get something going. Several of their Australian firefighters have come to the United States to help with fires over here, and I think it's only fair, right? Very simple math. It's not hard to figure it out. Doesn't take a genius. All right, it's just like that. So get the ball going, like yesterday. In the meantime, for all you others, especially ascended citizens, it's highly recommended that you put out some prayers, healing, light, love, and send them out to these people. And maybe for you people that are in a position to put in some kind of packages. I don't know if these people need food or shelter or something that will help these people, but maybe some kind of a program like yesterday to help these people out with water or whatever. So and again, these people have come over to the United States to help us out. I don't see any reason why our people, especially if you're in a position to do so, shouldn't go out there and help them out. They like you should already have been making arrangements, like yesterday. So anyhow, and again, if the only thing you can do is put out light, love, healings, prayers, then take a couple of minutes and every little bit will help. I'm telling you, every little inkling of support that you can give these people will help. I guarantee you 100%, right? Now, congratulations to all these people that have won or have succeeded at the Golden Globes with Best Motion Picture Drama going to 1917. And it's amazing because most of the time I watch these people. I watch a lot of these movies and I can usually predict who's going to win what, but I'm just out of the loop, and that's all it's to it for the most part. Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Best Actress in Motion Picture Drama, Renee Zellweger, yeah, right, and Judy. And I was wondering if that movie was any good or not. It seemed like it was, and now, well, she did a good job in acting in it, but the movie itself didn't even get nominated for a Golden Globe. So anyhow, she did. I guess Zellweger did a good job in acting in it, but just wasn't a good enough script to do the do, right? Best Actor in Motion Picture, a Drama, Joaquin in Joker. And again, now, Joker, I actually went to see it about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and unfortunately the guy that I was with was not doing too good. So anyhow, I didn't get to see all the movie, but even so, I wasn't really impressed. And maybe if I seen the rest of the movie, I would think different. But I really just didn't find that movie appealing at all, not even for a second. It was just very disturbing. It seemed like there was a lot of confusion. Things didn't seem to add up. But then again, it wasn't one of those movies that unfolds as you go along. So I don't know. I didn't get to see all of it, and I don't know that I wanted to see all of it. I didn't. Again, it was a very disturbing movie, and even the part that I watched, I was satisfied. And if I never see that movie, it's not going to hurt my feelings. So anyhow, and maybe this is. The movie wasn't nominated for Best Movie, so I guess Hollywood wasn't approving of such a disturbing movie to be a winning movie. So I guess that answers that question. But I guess that they did feel that Joaquin Phoenix did a good job in acting in that movie. So Best Actress in a Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, Awkwafina, The Farewell. I don't know anything about that movie. The Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, Taron Egerton in Rocket Man. Now that's one movie I could take or leave. I wouldn't mind seeing it, but I'm just not interested in going out of my way to see it. Best Actress in Supporting Role in Any Motion Picture, Laura Dern in Marriage Story. Best Actor in Supporting Role in Any Motion Picture, Brad Pitt, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Best Director, a Motion Picture, Sam Mendes in 1917. Best Screenplay, Motion Picture, Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Anyhow, it goes on and on and on with all the rest of the scores and so forth and winners. So and you can look that up for yourself. Just look up Golden Globes complete winners or something like that, and you'll find that. But in the meantime, let me see what else we got going on. The Golden Age prediction show. I'm planning on doing next Friday, not this Friday, but next Friday, and it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen. Now, already there's an astrological group. I can't remember who they are, what their name is, but the group is saying that there's going to be a huge shift at the end of this year, and I believe from what I understand, that shift is going to be a really amazing shift. I believe that's what they're saying, and it's going to be pretty awesome, a pretty awesome shift. And so, I guess we'll find out when we get there. Most of the movies I have listed are movies that I watched from my own collection. I decided, well, I haven't watched most of these movies in probably a year or so. And instead of going out and getting a movie or going out to the movies or whatever, I just went ahead and just watched the movies from my own collection to see if I still really like them the same or whatever. And so Angel, the first movie I'm going to be talking about, all these movies that I'm going to be talking about right now are Two Thumbs Up. Angel Has Fallen, which came out this year, and this was one of the few movies that I went out and got from Redbox and rented with Jared Butler, Morgan Freeman, Nick Nolte, Piper Perabo, Danny Houston, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Lance Reddick. Very interesting movie. Now that movie was just filled with all kinds of technology about how to deal with assassination attempts of the president, all kinds of stuff like that. It was interesting to see how now the president, compared to years and years ago, how now the president can be protected in case there's an assassination attempt. And so it was a really interesting, pretty intense movie. Of course, the acting was pretty good. It was interesting to see Nick Nolte. that old boy is getting to be pretty old, I'm pretty sure. And so it was interesting to see him as the father of Jared Butler. And so it was pretty I want to say breathtaking, but I don't know if that's the word, the phrase. There's a lot of really awesome scenery in it. Again, good acting, and I can't remember the music, but I think it had enough music to really balance it out. And there was some funny stuff in there as well. Again, Baywatch, 2017, with Dwayne Johnson, Zac Efron, Priyanka Chopra, Kelly Rohrbach, Ilfenesh Hadera, Alexander Daddario, John Bass, Yahya Abdul Abdul Mateen II, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name. Hannibal Barris and Rob Hubel. Again, you know, if you ever watched the TV series The Baywatch, this was actually more dramatic than the regular TV series. They find all these drugs, and this shyster, who's Priyanka Chopra, she's planning on taking over a beach and running the place with her drug scheme. So pretty intense, but funny to watch. A lot of good humor in it. Pitch Perfect 3. Again, all out of all the Pitch Perfects that I like, this one I like the best, I think. Pitch Perfect 3. Anna Kendrick, Anna Campbell, Brittany Snow, Haley Steinfeld, Rebel Wilson, Esther Dean, Kelly Jackal, Shelley Regner, Hannah May, why? Hannah May, time out. Hannah May Lee, Chrissy Fitt, Alexis Snap, DJ Khaled, Elizabeth Banks, John Michael Higgins, Guy Burnett, Matt Lanter, Troy Ian Hall, and then John Lithgow. So the Bellas, the Barton Bella University Bellas get back together. You know, they're out of school now, and they all get back together, and they go do a USO tour for the military. So filled with all kinds of awesome music and just inspiring. If you want something to lift your spirits up and just get in a light-headed mood, I guess maybe that's a phrase, then that's probably a good movie to watch. So lots of funny stuff, lots of good music, and and it's cool that and they have a lot of stuff from the USO that they're featuring in there. So it's a lot of stuff from the military they're featuring here in there. So it's pretty cool. 2016, and that Pitch Perfect 3 came out 2017. 2016, Me Before You with Emilia Clarke, Sam Claflin, Janet McTeer, Charles Dance, Stephen Peacock, Samantha Spiro, Brendan Coyle, and Matthew Lewis. This is kind of like with what's her name, the little girl that's on life support right now, Tinslee Lewis. This is kind of like a situation with her, and it's like one of my favorite movies. Emilia Clarke is just awesome in this movie. She just does such a good job, and you know, if this was like a real life scenario, this would really be her in this movie. This is like an extension of who she really is in real life. I think it seems like she's a very compassionate person. So anyhow, this guy gets in a motorcycle accident, and so they hire her. The parents hire her to take care of Sam Claflin, who's the guy that got run over by a motorcycle. So anyhow, they kind of fall in love with each other. They go on, and even though he's in a wheelchair, they have a great time. But the Sam Claflin gives his parents 6 months, and then he wants to have an assisted suicide. He wants to end it because he doesn't want to go on in the way because he's quadriplegic, and so he doesn't want to continue forward in that way. So they go to Switzerland, I believe Switzerland, and they assist him with suicide, and he leaves a whole bunch of money for Emilia Clarke so she can move on and spread her wings and find herself. So that was pretty interesting. 2015, Fast and Furious, number 7 with Van Diesel, Paul Walker. I believe this was Paul Walker's last movie. They make a dedication to him at the very end. Jason Statham, Dwayne Johnson, Michelle Rodriguez, Jordana Brewster, Tyrese Gibson, Chris Bridges, Natalie Emmanuel, Kurt Russell, and Gail Godot. Gail got it? I don't know, something like that. But anyhow, very intense movie. Jason Statham, his brother gets killed by the Vin Diesel and his team. Somehow, I think that was in the movie prior to, and so now he wants revenge, and so they go through all this mirage of intense chasing each other around, beating each other up, but it's for family, right? So Vin Diesel makes it very clear that his team are a bunch of people that get together just to be poor. So anyhow, another one of my favorite all-time movies, 2010, Love and Other Drugs with Jake Gyllenhaal, Anne Hathaway, Oliver Platt, Hank Azaria, Josh Gad, Gabriel Mott, Judy Greer, Catherine Winnick, George Segal, Joe Clayburgh. Now, if you watch this movie, it's very much like a piece, like a slice of my life. Literally, it's like somebody literally watched me and my partner, whom lived in Huntington Beach. So I went and moved in with her, and but this whole movie, I mean, there's so many parts of it that are exactly a lot of the stuff her and I went through. It was just bewildering. She had not Parkinson's disease, the essential tremors. She still has them, I believe. And so so I had to go through a whole process of learning about essential tremors and about how to work with her and deal with her and so forth. And so anyhow, there's so many coincidences in this movie that are exactly the same thing that took place between me and her. It's like somebody literally just filmed both of us, and then they put together their own script, and then they put this movie together, and they called it Love and Other Drugs. It's just wow. So anyhow, let me see, 2010, Morning Glory. Rachel McAdams, Harrison Ford, Diane Keaton. Oh man, that's such a funny movie. It's that is one of my favorite movies too. It's just Rachel McAdams runs the studio, and Harrison Ford is like this giant of a reporter, right? He's worked in CNN, all these major places or whatever, and reporting like major news, and then but he's still under contract with Rachel McAdams' studio, which is a small time operation, or smaller time operation, I should say, and it's getting ready to crash and burn unless they raise the ratings. So Harrison Ford finally gets his head out of his butt and decides to become part of the team, and the studio saved. But then another bigger studio wants to hire Rachel McAdams, and so Harrison Ford has to decide, well, is he going to get with the program, or is he going to crash and burn again? So he finally decides to get his head out of his butt and get with the program at the end. So 2007, Knocked Up. Now it was very interesting to see with Seth Rogen, Catherine Hagel, Paul Rudd, Leslie Mann, Jason Segel, Jay Baruchel, Jonah Hill, Harold Ramis, Kristen Wiig, and Ken Jeong. Seth, and it's amazing how many movies Seth Rogen has been in with some really good parts. In most or all these movies, but all of them haven't been successful. But he's had some pretty amazing parts, and it just blows me away. So anyhow, him and Katherine Hagel, who's a news reporter or something like that, or some kind of a I don't want to say communication specialist, but anyhow, she does a show, and somehow they get hooked up at this club, and he knocks her up, and so they have to deal. They decide to do what any other couple would do, and even though they're not a couple, they decide to become a couple and have this baby, and then they of course there has to be drama and there has to be conflict, so they break up, and then they come back together, and they decide to live happily and ever after. Okay, fine, whatever. So anyhow, 2003, American Wedding. Now I had a lot. This is part of a whole bunch of American Pies that I watched, about 4 or 5 of them, I don't know. Jason Biggs, Allison Hannigan, January Jones, Sean William Scott, Eddie K. Thomas Ian Nichols, Eugene Levy, Molly Cheek, Fred Willard, Deborah Rush, Eric Allen Kramer, and Jennifer Coolidge. So Jason Biggs and Allison Hannigan get together, and they're going to get married. And of course, Sean William Scott, I can't remember his character's name, but anyhow, the stickler, I want to call him the stickler, but anyhow, he screws everything up, but then he makes up for it at the end, and they end up having a really happily ever after marriage. So, yeah. 2000, Space Cowboys. Now somehow I got this movie at I don't know. Somehow I went through. I just briefly went through some movies that were selling over at the Goodwill, believe it or not. And I thought, I want to check this one out. So it actually turned out to be a better movie than I thought. So Clint Eastwood, Tommy Lee Jones, Donald Sutherland, James Garner, James Cromwell, Marcia Gay Harden, Jay Leno, and I don't know who else, but I guess. But anyhow, the old school pilots, Clint Eastwood, Tommy Lee Jones, Donald Sutherland, James Garner. They they're back in their day. They tested for jets to go into space. They didn't think about going into space because they didn't have that capability yet. And then something happens to one of the satellites or something like that, and so nobody knows how to fix that satellite except Clint Eastwood. So Clint Eastwood goes, okay, either I go or forget it. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. So they set up James Cromwell, the director of the NASA or whoever it is. He's directing or whatever. But anyhow, he agrees to get Clint Eastwood and his team, Tommy Lee Jones, Donald Sutherland, and James Garner, together and get them back into shape so they can go into space. So they do. They go into space, and come to find out, Tommy Lee Jones has cancer, right? So in the very end, he decides to go to take they had nuclear weapons in this thing, this whatever it is that they're trying to fix, and so they have to launch the nuclear weapons further into space so that they otherwise they're going to blow up all of humanity or whatever. So Tommy Lee Jones decides to go ahead and take the weight and take all the nuclear heads out into space, and of course with the notion that he's never coming back, and at the very end they show him on the moon just laying there, right? It's like, you know he's dead, but he's happy where he because he's exactly where he wanted to be from the get-go. So, anyhow, it's a funny movie. But 1993. Now this movie I just watched last night. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. Kevin Kline, Sigourney Weaver, Frank Langella, Kevin Dunn, Ving Rhames, Ben Kingsley, Charles Grodin, Laura Linney, Jay Leno, Larry King. And it was interesting because they had senators, I mean, real life senators, all kinds of people in this movie. Very interesting movie about Dave, he's an impersonator, right? He impersonates the president, and he goes on and does all these gigs, and so the president wants to bring in somebody to take his place for a few hours so he can have an affair with Laura Linney, of course. So he goes and has his affair with Laura Linney, and then he has a heart attack right on top of her, right? Whatever. So anyhow, Dave is only going to come in for the few hours, the couple hours that it's going to take for the president to have this affair and come back and visit as usual. But the problem on him having a heart attack, and literally that completely put him out of commission. So Dave ends up having to take place of the president's place and be the president. And at the very and you wonder, well, how in the hell is he going to get out of this one? So anyhow, at the very end, he pretends like he has a heart attack, and then he goes on, and then they reveal to the media that the president was in very serious condition with a heart attack, and eventually he dies. And so they turn over the presidency to the vice president. And so he takes over, and then goes on from there. So, yeah, very interesting movie. It was a funny movie too, but that's one. So, and I was surprised, in and see, that's just it. Back in the 90s, early 2000, and maybe even the 80s, they had movies that were fun to watch. You didn't have to deal with all this BS, this bullshit about this or that. About Occupy this or terrorist or people, and if so, it was lighthearted and people just weren't so I don't know, because a lot of the movies now, like with Joker, they don't make sense. They have too much information in the movie. Keep it simple, stupid, right? They have they put in so much information. They cram the movie with all kinds of information, and it's like information overload, right? Instead of back in the day, 90s, they were covering from day to day rather than trying to cram a whole year worth of movie into 30 minutes or an hour or whatever. So it's just not the same anymore, and not to mention the special. The special effects can be of use and benefit, but the special effects should never be the movie, right? Technology should never be the movie. Relationships, that's what the movie should be. Productivity, creativity, service, being of service, spiritualness, just being lighthearted or being in your heart space. That's a movie. And the crap they put out these days is all either head-based or groin-based, right? So it's like, what's wrong with these people? They don't put their hearts into movies anymore. They just put their minds in there to figure out how they're going to make the next movie so they can make their next budget for their next rent or whatever. So, it's all about making money these days instead of telling a story, telling a real story, and that's beneficial and that communicates some kind of lesson that people should know about or understand or learn. It's not movies just aren't teaching people wisdom or spirituality or just simple basics, simple basic stuff about life, about relationships. They're all just all these movies, most of these movies, they just want to make a buck. Who gives a shit, right? Now the next few movies. Now again, the Joker, I gave a 1 thumb up. It was so confusing from what I watched, and it just wasn't there for me. I didn't get into it. So anyhow, the next movie, Hustlers, which came out this year, and again I got it at the Red Box, with Constance Wu, Jennifer Lopez, Julia Stiles, Keke Palmer, Lily Reinhart, and Cardi B. Again, these women took advantage of these Wall Street guys that had all this money, and so they pat themselves on the back for having taken advantage of them. At the very end, it's based on a true story, true events. These women, they're strippers, and there's a big crash in 2008, and so they decide they want to make money differently, but they want to make some money, and they want to stop being pushed around by the managers at the strip joints and whatever. So anyhow, they start taking advantage of they get these guys drunk, literally drunk, and then they ring up their tab on their credit cards or debit cards or whatever, and who in the very end, I think when I remember this story, the judge had them pay a certain amount of money, $80,000. I don't know what it was, but I think that was the case. But in the movie, it didn't state that. I don't know, so maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but these women got off with probation. They got caught for and I don't know if it was embezzling, but anyhow, they got busted for taking advantage of these guys, and they did it because of their little girl, of their kids. Is that a strong enough reason for two wrongs to make a right? I don't think so. I personally don't think so. They didn't offer any kind of it was just all about revenge, and I think it was the basic storyline. And to me, revenge it's just not a heartwarming, awesome movie. It doesn't do it for me at all, not even for a second. So anyhow, so I give it a 1.5, and I don't know if it could have been a 1, but definitely it was not a 2 for sure. 2011, The Change Up with Jason Bateman, Ryan Reynolds, Leslie Mann, Olivia Wilde, Alan Arkin. Now this is one of those what do I want to say? I again, this happened to me last time. There, two souls come in and they take over a body. One person dons the body, and then usually some kind of dramatic event happens or another that's very intense, and then that soul leaves and the other soul takes over. I can't remember what the name of the phrase is, but anyhow, they switch souls. But it was like that. It was one of those type of movies. These guys they go take a piss at this water fountain out in the park, and all of a sudden all this thunder crashes and all this stuff happens, and all of a sudden they change bodies, right? So now Jason Bateman is in Ryan Reynolds' body and vice versa, right? So they go through all this stuff. Jason Bateman is married to Leslie Mann, so now Ryan Reynolds has to be married to Leslie Mann, because initially they wanted to have each other's lives. And so they got their wish granted, and they go through all this mirage and stuff. Now, this actually could have been a 2.0 movie, but at the very end, the water fountain ends up in a mall, right? And so they end up taking a piss in front of all these people, including kids, at this mall, which to me, that's the very thing that the media, the movie industry, entertainment industry needs to stop selling. If you want to end Me Too, you need to stop promoting it. Period. It's just really that simple. That's pretty fucked up when movie producers do that shit. It's bullshit. So they need to stop promoting illegal activity and make it seem like it's okay for anybody to go do it. Not cool at all. So anyhow, I gave it a 1.5. It was pretty funny otherwise, pretty interesting, some of the events that take place, and it was pretty funny. So anyhow, 2015, Trainwreck with Amy Schumer, Bill Hader, Brie Larson, Colin Quinn, John Cena, Vanessa Bayer, Tilden Swinton. Man, she was such a bitch in this movie. LeBron James, Amar Stoudemire, Randall Park. If you haven't watched this movie, this is a hoot. At the very beginning, Amy Schumer and her sister Brie Larson get this speech from their little girl is like, I don't know, 10, 5 years old or whatever, and their father's going, well, he's going through all this long-winded way of explaining relationships, and the bottom line is monogamy. Monogamy doesn't work or something like that. So anyhow, that's how Amy Schumer grows up, and so she's like a player, right? She has all these escapades with all these men, but she has one guy she just goes out with and hangs out, and that's supposedly her main squeeze, right? John Cena. And so anyhow, she works for a magazine, and so she has to go write an article about what's his name? Bill Hader, who's a doctor, sports doctor. He fixes basketball players' knees and so forth. Anyhow, they get involved with each other, and of course, Amy does her typical routine by the second or third. Actually, on the first date, she screws Bill Hader, and then they get involved, and it turns out to be a much more meaningful relationship than she plans on. Blah 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 blah. So now this also could have been a 2.0 movie, but towards the end, and they have this kid. I can't remember what his name is, but he comes on as an intern in the movie. So they never say, the what's her name, Tilda Swinton introduces him to the rest of the gang, to all the gang, at the magazine as an intern. But she never says how old he is. She never says he's from high school so and so. And then at the very end, he's in this bar partying with all these people from the magazine, right? And what's he doing in the bar? What's he doing drinking? Total line of shit. And then Amy Schumer ends up going home with them again, doing her routine, because her and Bill Hader had a falling out. So now she's back to square A again, and so she ends up screwing around with this kid, and so she gets busted. The mom comes in, and then she gets fired from her magazine, and then she finally writes the article about Bill Hader, his position as a doctor, blah blah blah. So she ends up selling it to other magazines, and she and Bill Hader and her get back together at the end, right now. So interesting. It was an interesting movie. Again, when movie companies think they can pull that kind of bullshit, and in real life, Amy Schumer would have been in jail, right? Or at least would have been got booked or something. Something would have happened, but nothing seemed to happen to her. And the movie company is pushing it off as slap in the hand. It's okay to to go and play, to go out and rob banks and get away with it. Okay, fine, whatever. So it's like that. American Pie 2009, American Pie 2007, American American Pie 2007 and American Pie 2001. Again, they're just slapstick comedies. If you just want to laugh, The Book of Love was kind of cheesy. American Pie 2, and then the Beta House was pretty funny, and that was more about college life, so it was interesting. But overall, all the American Pies were, other than the American Wedding, were kind of cheesy. But it's slapstick. That's the way it is. That's the way it goes. So, and if you want to just a good laugh, you don't want to think about anything. You just want to just chill out or so forth. Then that's the way it goes. So, anyhow, what was Surrogates with Bruce Willis, Rhoda Mitchell, Rosamund Pike, James Cromwell, Ving Rhames, and Boris Kodjoe, back in 2009. That was an interesting perception of what the future could look like, but I doubt that it would look like that. There's just, again, it's one of those movies, came out in 2009. They wanted to they just put in too much information. A lot of stuff just was just confusing. It just didn't make any sense, or just didn't add up. And so there's interesting technology in there involved, but overall, the overall content, the overall not screenwriting, but the overall script just wasn't there. It was just cheesy again. Where the Truth Lies, 2005, Kevin Bacon, Colin Firth, Alison Lohman, Rachel Blanchard, David Heyman, and Christian Adams. Kevin Bacon and Colin Firth are a comedy act. They do, they do fundraising. They remind me of what Jerry Lewis and what's his name that used to do fundraisers to raise money for different organizations. They used to do all these presentations and singing and all this stuff for who knows, but it was just like that. These guys they did all these fundraisers, and they were just like, a lot of people really enjoyed their presentations, but it got dark, especially when I believe Colin Firth kills one of the maids at one of the hotels, and so I'm assuming it was out of revenge, but did it promote productivity? Did it promote creativity? Did it promote service? Did it promote spiritualness? Did it promote just down to earth basics? Not really. And that's the same thing that horror movies do. They don't really present that. That's why, to me, horror movies aren't just really that interesting, because they're not really creative. They don't have. They don't promote productivity. And maybe they are spiritual on a level, but they don't promote just good, down to earth, right, healthy relationships, and they just promote just stupid stuff that a lot of times it's just stupid. What a lot of stuff that they promote are really, really stupid. But anyhow, 2001 Bubble Boy. Oh, Jake Gyllenhaal, Marley Shelton, Swoozie Kurtz, John Carroll Lynch, Danny Trejo, Fabio Werner Troyer. This guy ends up growing up in a controlled environment because supposedly his immune system isn't working, right? And come to find out later on, it is working. the mom kept it hidden so that she could protect her little boy. And so Jake Gyllenhaal falls in love with Marley Shelton, and so she comes over and starts hanging out with him. And then somehow she ends up with some other guy, and they're going to get married in New York or whatever. And so Jake Gyllenhaal figures out, well, no, you can't marry this guy. I love you, blah, blah, blah. You know, one of those romance comedies type of things. So he goes and makes a bubble, plastic thing, so he can go out and chase his love of his life. It was kind of cheesy. There was a lot of, again, it was slapstick. So what can you expect from slapstick? And so I most of the time I don't think that there are any slapstick movies out there that have ever won awards. Maybe, but I doubt it. At least I don't think so. So 1.5 is the best I could do for that movie. So interesting mirage of events that take place as he makes his way to New York and goes and saves her, the love of her life, whatever. So anyhow, and one of the things that Michael Singh, a senior director for Middle East Affairs on the National Security Council under President George W. Bush, he states that that killing Major what's his name, Major General Qassem Soleimani, and I think I agree with them to some extent or another, is that having taken him out was an actual act of self-defense. And if you listen to President Donald Trump's speech right after this takes place, it sounds like he's being very sincere, saying that he didn't do it to promote war, but to prevent war. I don't know how authentic he is with that statement, but it sounded reasonably authentic to me. And he's right. Sometimes you have to take out the bully. The best way to deal with the bully is take him on, and especially if he's the biggest bully on the block, then you won't. People will back down and change their behavior, change their way of life. So I don't know what the ramifications of all this. I guess we're going to find out within the next few weeks. I'll know better as soon as I look at my astrology charts and do the predictions next week. I'll know better what it may look like. So we'll find out and see. I think we're going to be okay. I have a sense that we're going to be okay, but I don't think it's over with either. So we'll, again, if President Donald Trump comes in and brings in some mediators to have a conversation with Iran leaders, and maybe they can come to some kind of understanding, some kind of conclusion, and some kind of get on the same page with these people, then I think we're going to be okay. But we're still going to want to watch our back, of course. Have a God Goddess weekend or week and month, and it's going to be a very interesting year. I'm pretty sure. I think it's going to be a good year, but it's undetermined yet. So we'll see what happens. Have a God Goddess week. Be the love that you are, always have been, and always will be. Aloha.